Hey, everybody. Good morning. Good morning. Good afternoon. Good evening to those of you on the other side of the world right now. Shout out to Europe and Asia Pac, Australia, and of course, all you guys here in the United States of America. Um, I I wanted to definitely before I Before I get to saying too much, I want to make sure my connection is nice and solid. I'm not on Wi-Fi. I'm actually on LAN right now, on Cat 5, on LAN cable. Hopefully my connection is not wafting in and out. That's the one thing I can say that's very frustrating for me. Where I'm currently located is the damn Wi-Fi connection. It's very shaky, extremely shaky. And so I want to say a few things really quick before I get to getting into the story here with the Taliban showing off quite a stash of weaponry in their victory parade that they had in Kandahar. Very concerning for a number of reasons. Um, and I think that is something that everybody needs to be aware about. So yeah, just know that we are never sleeping on many of you out here. Believe that. We catch a lot of y'all's videos and lives and things like that all the time. And I just wanted to say that sometimes, we get to building relationships and all these sorts of things out here on the YouTube. Okay, cool. All right. Second thing, okay, so I want to kind of throw this out before we get started with this crazy imagery you're going to see. It's just unbelievable. We're talking tanks, missiles, rockets, uh, ugh, helicopters, Humvees. It looked like a little U.S. military parade, coming home parade or of some point almost. It is unbelievable video. Um, Now here's something else I want to say too, and I'm not dropping any names or anything like that. But I wanted to say, just throw this out here and let it stick to whoever it'll stick to. But there's one specific person I'm throwing it out there for. I just wanted to say thank you for believing in me. Thank you for believing in me. you know, and not just jumping at the first drop. That's it. That's all. I can definitely appreciate that. Much love, much respect. Um, so yeah, there's that. And the last thing before I get to talking about this crazy victory parade that happened with US military equipment in Afghanistan by the Taliban, I wanted to just be really clear that I am Leak U. Leak U is Leak U. And I definitely have touched down in a certain part of YouTube, this weird ass community of people that are fucked up. And a lot of them are fucked up individuals. Some of these people support some really, really weird, fucked up shit on this particular community in YouTube. But I just want to be really clear on something that my beefs are my beefs, and I don't entangle or have anything to do with anybody else's beefs. I don't care who they are. So there's that as well. It wouldn't matter who the person is. I'm not one that piles on and involves myself in other people's beefs. That's why I don't let y'all's beefs become my beefs. Y'all have heard me say that a lot, right? You may fuck around and see somebody up on my channel that you may not even like, right? And there's that. And all I can say is I appreciate anyone who, doesn't try to um I just I just appreciate all my supporters. I guess I'll just say that. I just appreciate all my supporters. I really do. So I just wanted to say that too. All right. Taliban throws a victory parade with the US military equipment. Humvees, trucks, tanks, rockets. They're flying a flag that has now, supposedly replaced the flag for Afghanistan, the white Taliban flag. Ugh, I see that flag. You know what it makes me think? It makes me think of ISIS. Remember their black flag that they had? That black flag. I'm not sure what it said on the flag itself because it's just not that important to me. But I know that there's some security professionals that definitely know what that flag looks like from top to bottom. That's what it reminds me of. And we pulled out of Afghanistan in a really, really strange and messed up way. And we left people behind. No, all Americans did not get out. There are still Americans stuck in Afghanistan right now for whatever reason. And we left a lot of equipment behind. And that's one thing that we're sort of known for around the world, is we don't usually leave equipment behind, not even a vehicle that would run. Usually or typically, we will disable these things in some form or fashion, either disable or blow them up so that they don't get in enemy hands. You all remember Osama bin Laden when SEAL Team 6 went in and swooped his little ass up off a little hilltop in Pakistan. SEAL Team 6 dropped in on him, swooped him, and killed him. And one of the helicopters, they were so careful with that particular mission that they took two helicopters. They literally doubled up. They doubled up. They made sure that if one helicopter of men went down, that other helicopter would be there. They wanted to kill bin Laden. Rightfully so. Rightfully so. And what's so cold about it is all of this started after 9/11. All this after 9/11. Um, and 13 men and women were killed in Kabul from a bomb at the airport in Afghanistan. This war started in Afghanistan many years ago, post 9/11, after the towers fell. And 13 men and women died in Kabul, Afghanistan at that airport, that exit or entrance gate at that airport. 12 of them were post 9/11 babies. They didn't even live through September 11th, 2001. They only know it from history, from the history books. But many of us can talk about the day where we were when the towers fell. And I wasn't a kid. I remember that day like clear as day. And that kicked off an obvious chain of events that ended up with having troops in Afghanistan fighting in a war, additional war after Iraq, after Bush came in and took Saddam Hussein on down, went on and did his dad, did that job. He did that job that his dad wanted to do. That's what I've always said anyway. But like what I was saying is so cold about it is like this started in Afghanistan and bin Laden had been in Pakistan for several years, living in a pretty nice house. You would consider it a nice house in that area, right next to a military school in Pakistan. Anyway, don't let me belabor that point. Check this out. This is the Taliban. Look at our equipment. Unbelievable. Now, I wouldn't care if it was 1 truck, 2 trucks, 3 trucks. Okay, yeah, they're showing off 5, but you know how much that equipment would just cost? Look at this. Millions of dollars of equipment driving in front of you. Why did you do that? Who was responsible for clearing the equipment? And before you now, I know that people are number one on the list, and even my daughter and I kind of went back and forth last night when we were talking about um, dogs that were left behind in Afghanistan. And I was just like, babe, I know you love dogs and I appreciate that and everything, but I can't even get to the point of thinking about dogs because I'm still stuck on 13 people were blew up at that entrance gate in Afghanistan. It just happened. Some of these people that passed away are just kids. It could have been my kid. And then of course, my mind circles to my other son who's been deployed overseas. But I love y'all. To my daughter and to my sons. I know they hear my stuff from time to time, and I absolutely love all you guys so much. And to my son, Pink Juicy, um, we are so grateful for your service to the country, to our country. There's many people that feel that way. Now, the Taliban feels so uh, brazen, right? That they were showing off U.S. military equipment, including Black Hawk helicopters, dozens of armored vehicles and weapons, amid Biden's chaotic final exit from Afghanistan. And the thing about it is this: it doesn't matter if I'm Democrat, Republican, in the middle, right leaning conservative, left leaning liberal, whatever you may be. I think many of us can find some sort of fault in this pullout in Afghanistan. It does seem hastily put together and absolutely chaotic. What sort of backdoor deals were going on? I don't know. But it sure seems like some kind of deal went down, that some sort of deal was made. I'll never forget those images of those people clamoring to the side of planes, not inside of them, on the outside of them, while they're taking off from the airport in Afghanistan in Kabul, falling off of the plane. Islamic fighters, they have been staging these victory parades in Kandahar. That is Afghanistan's second biggest city, and they just continue to show off military hardware that they seized. We've been there for 20 years. It's almost impossible to not leave something behind, but this type of huge grab is sort of like, what? We should have blew all that shit up. We shouldn't have left a single thing. We should have disabled all of it. It's like we just got the fuck out of there. Everybody just dropped everything they were doing. And it has, like, life has been absolutely disrupted. This is embarrassing for us. This is very embarrassing more than anything. It's fucking embarrassing. Not only did we go over to a foreign country and we lost so many men in the last 20 years in that hot, sweltering piece of shit place. And to top it off, when we leave hastily, we leave, our equipment there. So we then turned around and handed them millions of dollars and equipment and weapons, the bullets. Like, they didn't need to pay for shit. They don't need to to have other terrorists financing them. We financed them. Many of these Taliban militants were seen cradling American M16 rifles and other weapons used by the United States, NATO, and Afghan forces from this 20-year war. The value of the weapons and equipment abandoned by the United States was not immediately known, but it's likely to be in the tens of millions of dollars. And potentially, no, we are definitely arming an enemy combatant. This is embarrassing. This is so embarrassing. It's not clear how much military inventory the Taliban has in their possession. But listen to some of this. The Afghan Air Force was operating 167 aircraft, including helicopters and planes, at the end of June. Prior to Kabul falling, Uzbekistan revealed Afghan soldiers had fled to their neighboring country with 22 military planes and 24 helicopters. There is 121 aircraft that are potentially in the hands of Taliban fighters. This includes a C-RAM rocket defensive system and about 70 vehicles designed to protect against blast and at least 27 Humvees. Look how they land a helicopter. Look, they're flying out one of something we left behind. I don't understand. There's some towns and cities that would love to get a helicopter just to allow their weathermen and their traffic reporters to fly around and report the traffic and the weather. And we just left some in an enemy country. The country was already turned over to enemy combatants, as you would call it. But then we just leave all this stuff. It's crazy. The U.S. insisted that the military equipment it abandoned was deactivated prior to fleeing Kabul. And that's what makes this so much more gross. Just a couple of days ago, I was reading an article where the Biden administration had said that we deactivated these helicopters and planes and tanks and things like that. But yet we see them flying them. We see them driving these vehicles. So you deactivated them how? The Taliban has also seized hardware that was given to Afghan security forces, which was funded by the United States. Our tax dollars, y'all. Biden, who has been savaged by critics over his handling of this deadly withdrawal, remains defiant, and he has addressed the nation. And the truth of the matter is, this was going to be a hard one on Biden. And I think Biden was willing to take that hit because, listen, he's already been in the White House for a nice run as vice president with Barack Obama. He understands better than anybody. He knows better than anybody what sort of hit this was going to be. Just be considerate of that fact. When you talk about that, just be considerate of that. But that doesn't mean this was done right. I I won't say that. I will not say that. Sometimes, some opinions or some things you just don't want to say. Anyway, Biden is very insistent that this was the right decision, that this was the best decision for America, despite 13 U.S. service members and more than 170 Afghans dying last week in an ISIS attack outside Kabul airport. Biden hailed the operation as an extraordinary success. And I'm not going to take that away from him either, but I can't help but to say that this was chaotic, hastily done, and it feels like to me that there's some sort of deals going on in it back in, and it may not have nothing to do with our government or anything like that. I'm just curious what sort of, so a lot of these men always want to make money, and it's just kind of weird to me that we left all of this. If they were told to deactivate it, did any of these people make money by selling this equipment before we left? Did any of them betray our country? Period. That's what I want to know. How did this much equipment get into their hands like this? And of course, Donald Trump, he's definitely using this as a way to throw daggers at Biden. He still thinks he's going to be, he
To the
thinks that he's
shocking
just going
images
to come
coming in
back
right
and
now
take
from
the White
Afghanistan.
House. That's what he thinks right now. So we'll let Donald Trump stay in his fairy tale land. Y'all check this out.
And the Taliban parading through the streets in U.S. armored vehicles and flying a Black Hawk helicopter. James Longman joins us now with more on this. Good morning, James.
Yeah, good morning, Cecilia. They've now sealed their military victory. And so now for the Taliban, the propaganda campaign has got underway. They wasted no time in celebrating the capture of U.S. hardware left behind by the Afghan army and the U.S. military. Take a look at this. This video shot by Taliban forces. It shows a parade of U.S. armored vehicles just outside of Kandahar Wednesday. And right on top of there, that is the black and white flag of the Taliban. And take a look at this. Flying overhead was a Black Hawk helicopter. Now, it's not clear how much U.S. hardware is now in the hands of the Taliban, but certainly gaining control in the skies with this kind of equipment is a major boost for them. Now, taking power is one thing, but keeping it is quite another. And the Taliban does hope to form a new government. A spokesman has said that they'll be announced in the next few days. There have been talks over the last 3 days. What is quite clear now is that there won't be any non-Taliban members as part of that government. Cecilia?
Yeah, James, there have been so many questions about that U.S. drone strike after the attack on the airport there in Kabul. 10 civilians were killed in it. But the Pentagon, they were pushed on this. They're not backing down. They're defending what happened there.
No, that's absolutely right, Cecilia. The chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Mike Milley, has called the U.S. drone strike righteous. It took out at least one ISIS-K member, and he said that there was intelligence that suggested that ISIS-K had another plot. He called that attack imminent, and that is why the U.S. carried out that strike. Cecilia?
James Longman, thank you so much.
Wow.
Well, hey there, GMA fans. Robin Roberts here. Thanks for checking out.
This is embarrassing. This is really super embarrassing. Mm.
But first, to elections having consequences, and America will keep paying the price for electing Joe Biden for years and perhaps decades.
You know what? I am so not going to promote that. I don't know what is going on with Australia, but Australia has been extremely critical of the United States lately. Now, when we had Donald Trump in office, you Australians had so much to say about that. And now it's a whole nother government, not even Republican. We're talking Democrat, not Democratic government. I don't mean it like that, but I mean the Democrats. And look how they talk. And I never understood why Australians think that they can sit over there on their little news stations and talk about us. Why don't you talk about your president? Don't you have a government that's kind of fucked up?
Execution of the Afghanistan.
I mean, I'm just saying. We don't need like organizations like Sky News coming for our necks like that. Why are Australians always so critical of the United States like that? I don't understand. I've just noticed that trend the last couple of years is all. It didn't matter, like I said, we had Trump there, Trump in office and then Biden, so it's went from Republican to Democrats, and yet they just find anything to kind of pick at us about. So that's my point basically. But look at all of the people that are searching Google for the word Taliban parade. And then there's so much content with Taliban parade on it, Taliban parade, and people are having to define within Taliban parade what they're looking for, such as the parade in Kandahar. Look at this. Very embarrassing. Show of might. Unbelievable, man. Wow.
As the Taliban cements its grip over Afghanistan after the historic withdrawal of U.S. troops following 20 years of war, top U.S. officials haven't ruled out the possibility of coordinating with Taliban to get
Hold
hold
on a
of
second.
ISIS
Can I
K.
just say something? I absolutely love that jacket on him. I don't know what kind of jacket that is, but it just looks the way that it's cut, like in the arm, like chest area, like maybe that's like a different style jacket, but they're getting really sporty with their looks these days with
The possibility of any kind of coordination in counter.
It's possible.
However, U.S. continues to describe the Taliban as a ruthless group and has said that it's unclear whether they would change.
You know what's really disgusting to me? How we're gonna watch this fucking slob, this whatever he's gonna call himself, this Taliban leader, this fat fuck, disgusting fuck, slob, who's now taken over this country. And it just is so insane to me how I look at this picture and you've got the Taliban standing there in front of all these armed men. And I'm just looking at all this equipment that I know came off United States soldiers, Army, Marines, all that shit. It's amazing to me to think that that's why we went over there in the first place and then we leave. And it's like they were like ants. They said as soon as they put their feet up in the air and got their last plane up and got the wheels up, the Taliban just absolutely took over that entire airport. It's like they just converged on it. It was the last stronghold.
We don't know what the future of the Taliban is, but I can tell you from personal experience that this is a ruthless group from the past, and whether or not they change remains to be seen. And as far as our dealings with them at that airfield or in the past year or so, in war, you do what you must in order to reduce risk to mission and force, not what you necessarily want to do.
And I agree with him from that perspective. That's why I do like to listen to like what the generals and what their take is on this matter. But I would be interested to know more about his background, actually. I don't know the man's, I don't know his full background, but I'd like to see. He's got a lot of stars on his chest. How long it I would be interested in how long he's been involving himself, as far as Iraq or I'm sorry, Afghanistan concerns. That's what I mean by that, or Taliban s- type things. Um, and one of the things that was floating in the air is it possible that the Taliban used ISIS K as a reasoning to blame the terrorist attacks on them so that the Taliban didn't get a bad look from 13 of our soldiers being killed at that entrance gate? Is that possible that that tip that we all received that somehow made its way into papers, this ISIS K, is it possible that they were just Taliban at the end of the day and they wanted to maybe speed up our withdrawal? Do you think the Taliban would want while they're about to take over this country and all these weapons and things are being given to them, do you think they would have wanted to be aligned with a attack at that airport or a bombing from a PI perspective? Are we looking at the next version of the Taliban 2.0 that's considerate of their public relations? Is that what we're I just thought it was really weird that all of us, and media received tips about ISIS K and that a terrorist attack before it happened, like a day, about 12 hours. Just kind of weird. It must have definitely been resonating on the streets of Afghanistan for at least 16 hours, 24 hours maybe. But wow, never got a tip like that before. Why, I don't know. Just some food for thought.
U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin praised the American troops in Afghanistan
Hey, Dolly.
and the
Hey, what's
massive
up, Miss
evacuation
That?
mission. He went on
Hey,
to say that
everybody.
U.S. would not like to make any predictions on future cooperation with Taliban, but will still remain focused on ISIS Khorasan.
The U.S. war in Afghanistan. Going forward, Bob, I would not want to make any predictions. I would tell you that we're going to do everything that we can to make sure we remain focused on ISIS-K, understand that network, and at the time of our choosing in the future, hold them accountable for what they've done.
This was their first public remark after the troop pullout. Remember, American officials
tens of millions of
have
dollars
assessed that the Taliban and ISIS-K are at least rivals in Afghanistan, if not sworn enemies. U.S. President Joe Biden had promised to hunt down ISIS-K fighters in retaliation for last week's suicide.
Here's my question. Why didn't we bomb that parade? Why didn't we send some missiles and strike that parade? We don't have any people there anymore, right? Of course we do. Of course we do. You guys, this is the beginning of us. Us Americans, we're just going to have to just accept it that there are groups of people around the world that run their countries and their places and their villages the way they want to do it. It's the power of the people, the will of the people, at the end of the day. But the one thing I do know, I get even tired of us sticking our noses where it don't belong. But this is a new normal, man. It's crazy, but that's what it is. A new normal.
Bombing at the Kabul airport gates. Top military officers have also said that the Taliban's decision to liberate all detainees from prisons the U.S. established
how much one of those guns
has led
would cost
to
if you wanted to
2,000
buy it?
ISIS-K fighters returning to the battlefield. Apart from coordination on ISIS-K, U.S. is working with Taliban on a very narrow
and then
set of
you see the messages we're sending out, right? You see that, right? The U.S. sent a message out and said we're definitely
narrow set of
we have the ability to work with them. Pentagon says coordination with the Taliban is possible, meaning for the first time we are essentially saying that, okay, clean slate. U.S. considering cooperation with Taliban to fight ISIS-K. Again, is this a sign of the Taliban 2.0? Watch, you guys. Somebody out here that's going to hear this video, you watch and see what I tell you. People are going to be using that Taliban 2.0. Just watch and see what I tell you. Promise you they will. We may even get a couple of videos with that name in it. I don't know. But I haven't seen anyone else use it. But yeah, Taliban 2.0.
With Taliban on a very narrow set of issues: coordination with Taliban
Look at
in terms
these
of
armored
getting the
vehicles.
remaining evacuees to the airport is underway. The US has estimated that there are close to 100 to 200 Americans wanting to flee Afghanistan. Victoria Nuland, US Undersecretary of State, has said that the United States is looking at all possible options and routes to continue helping Americans and legal permanent residents leave Afghanistan.
These efforts did not end on August 31st, and they will not end until we have secured the evacuation of any American citizens and LPRs and folks who worked with us and served the American people who want to get out. So we've been in contact with them in the last 24 hours to tell them that we are looking at all possible options, air routes, land routes, to continue to find ways for them to help evacuate and to support
In
them.
other words, don't hold your breath. Okay, that's basically, she said all that to say, here, let me just give it to you straight. Don't hold your breath. Anyway, I can't. I'm so I can't believe how much we left behind, the equipment, and I can't help but think that surely some people seen some opportunity. Oh, we're pulling out in a couple of weeks. Oh, I bet you could take some of these guns, right? I mean, I got to get rid of them. Oh, I could just write whatever in the book, or you know, just amazing. And then you mean to tell me that possible coordination with the Taliban is possible? Wow, again, a new normal, right? 20 years ago, are you kidding me? The Taliban are a terrorist axis of evil. Everybody remembers that speech by Bush at his, state of address to the nation. I absolutely enjoy those. They're once every term when the president goes to the Capitol building, essentially, and and sits there, or not sits there, but the president will do his state of the address to the nation, and I've always enjoyed watching those since I was a kid. Biden's will this whole situation, as far as with Biden's administration, will be interesting as the days move on. Taliban 2.0 is all I can say. All right, guys, until next time.